Welcome back, everybody, to interview 003. Today we are here with Rylie Groff. And right now, Rylie, you're sitting at number 15 on the 90-day XP for the United States, right? So obviously you're playing a lot, you're grinding. We're about to join the Enter the Battlefield Armory here in about an hour, right?
Yes, shout out to Jay and Connor and everyone else who helped put that one together.
Big shout out. So, Rylie, tell us a little bit about how you got into the game, started playing and playing online and playing a lot, and all that good stuff.
Well, I just started. I know there's been a lot of fresh blood that have come into the game recently. I think around Monarch, a lot of people started playing, myself included. I just prior to joining and doing this interview today, I went and checked to see when my first armory I played in was, and it was actually it was May 25th, so not even 2 months ago. So I've been playing for like a pretty short period of time. But I fell in love with it from the very first armory I played in, even though I got stomped. Like I'm pretty sure everyone who does the first couple of events they play in, walking in all wide-eyed with delusions of grandeur. Like I'm gonna do really well, and then just getting crushed by like the Kelvin Balls and the Dantes of the world.
Right.
So it's like a rude awakening, but it doesn't stop you from having fun with this game. It's just a blast.
For sure.
So interestingly enough, I got into it from Alpha Investments.
Okay.
About it, Rudy.
Nice. Yeah.
So he's more talking about the financial aspect of the game, which I don't really care about. But I like his videos and I always watch him, and he talks about the market and stuff about that. But I got into it because he said it was the game that he enjoyed playing the most from an actual gameplay perspective. So I was like, wow. So this guy's like high praise, coming from him.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I bought some unlimited, opened a couple boxes, me and my friends. But, I come from a Magic background, and, it just wasn't hooking them, kind of like it did me. So I'm like, all right, I got to find some way to play this game because none of my friends want to play it, which is unfortunate. So none of my local game stores, none of my LGSs carry this game, supporting this game whatsoever. So I was like, there's got to be a way to play this game. So I started doing some research, and I found out about the online events, the armories. So the first one I ended up playing in was Harry Tarantula.
Nice.
Rest in peace, Harry Tarantula.
Yeah.
In-store play, no more online armories. But yeah, that hooked me. Ever since then, I've played like almost every day, or at least every other day, for the last 2 months. Ever since that.
That's how I met you, was grinding these events. I see you everywhere. So I figured you had a Magic background. These little. I put these.
Was it the Omnath?
Yeah, the Omnath. I try and put people's Discord pics under their, just so people can have another way to identify what's going on, right? So someone might not know Rylie Groff, but they might know that Omnath. They're like, oh, I know that guy, right?
Right. Oh yeah. I recognize the trauma from Kadachi, or whatever comes along with seeing the Omnath.
Right. Yeah. So, you got 338 XP within the last 90 days, and you've been playing about the same time as me, right? My first event was the 28th of May.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
So, man, that's a lot of wins. Over 100 wins.
It's an okay amount. It's certainly not as many as you, or Rob, or Calvin Law.
Right.
But I think I have a fairly decent win percentage.
Right. Yeah.
Especially considering I don't think I was playing a meta deck up until probably the last 3 or 4 weeks. Because my first month of playing, I was rocking Dorinthia with no Crucible of War cards.
Oh shit. Okay.
Iron Rod Helm, but still.
I was on Dorinthia too.
Out some wins.
Yeah, about half my wins come from Dorinthia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so tired of just getting destroyed by Aria. And so I just swapped over, and she's just a lot more fun to play. A lot more balanced. Dorinthia, you can't block, so you're always in these awkward situations. And, so you started with Dorinthia, and now you've been grinding Aria, right?
I have. Probably the last month or so, it's been Aria exclusively.
Let's talk a little Aria. right? From Ira to Ira. You know, what draws you to Ira? Because there are some other, you could have chosen Kano, EB,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Or
Hmm.
um I guess Kano or Ira, it's like God, if you want to be S tier, but you
Yes.
know what I mean. So I think Ninja, especially in Blitz, the reason that it's so strong, and I think people overrate Ira, right? What makes her so strong is that she's able to switch from defense to offense very easily, right? So with a 2 card hand, you can come in for 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 7, and it's extremely hard after she just got done blocking for maybe 9 with 2 cards, right? So that's I think where people get tripped up on playing against Ira. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm still pretty fresh. Maybe you can talk a little bit about this, but how do you lose as Ira? Like, what are people doing to beat you?
Play Kano mostly.
That's facts. That's facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be honest. Like, so what first drew me to Ira is just the consistency. You're very rarely battling against the variance, which is a big thing that you need to extrapolate about card games.
For sure.
Is a big part of card games is your deck building inherently and making sure that you can build a deck that's going to be consistent for you across a large number of games. So if we're talking about 100 games, you want to say on average, this is the type of hand you're going to end up with, and this is what I'm intending by building my deck this specific way. Um, so Ira allows for a ridiculous amount of consistency because, like you said, you can afford to lose at least half of your hand blocking and
Yeah,
still be able to come back with a ridiculous amount of damage.
for sure.
Because if you keep a blue and a red, like you said, you're coming back from 3 on Kodachis plus whatever other red you've kept in your hand. That could be a Command and Conquer,
Yeah.
not an Enlightened Strike, unless it's coming from Arsenal in this specific
Yeah.
example. Torrent of Tempo, Pounding Gale, even stuff that is for 0, like an Exude Confidence or a Snatch,
Yeah.
anything like that. It makes the game intolerable for your opponent. I know I
Right.
was playing the other day, and I would play like a Pounding Gale or a Torrent of Tempo, and they're like, "That's how much damage? That costs how much?" And it does that much, and it has that effect. I'm like,
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't design the card, man. Sorry,
Right.
I'm just playing it."
Right. For sure. I think that what I think the irritating thing for people to play against is the consistency, right?
Mhm.
Because their turns vary a lot more,
Mhm.
where ours Ira turn is generally very consistent. Um, and in a card game, I think consistency and beating variance is almost the pinnacle of what you want to be doing in a card game, right? Is I need to execute my game plan for my deck every single turn, right? And the person who's going to be able to do that more than the other person generally going to win, right? I mean, speaking in, you're a Magic player. When's the last time you were playing some competitive Magic? Has it been a while? Or, I mean, Omnath is pretty recent.
Yeah. Well, I haven't. Ever since I started playing Flesh and Blood, I haven't touched Magic,
Same.
which has been a blessing, to be honest with you.
Definitely.
So last time I guess Strixhaven would have been the last set that I really played.
Okay.
So fortunately, I didn't touch Modern Horizons 2. Saved me a lot of money.
Yeah.
I haven't even followed the spoilers for the new Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set.
There's nothing. There's one card.
Yeah, it's definitely like anyway, wasted potential. We don't need to go into that.
Right.
But yeah, like it's the first spoiler season that I barely followed a single card because I've just been so like obsessed with this game
Right.
ever since I started playing it.
For
So
sure.
probably like Strixhaven would be the most recent time I played anything competitively.
So in the past, though, were you a competitive Magic player, or were you more just like I'll play some F&M, or were you like I'm going to Grand Prix?
So the interesting thing is, I consider myself a sealed player,
Oh shit.
which
Okay.
most people would roll their eyes at that and be like, you can't be a competitive sealed player.
Hell yeah, you can.
But you totally can. It's a completely different game when you're playing sealed.
Definitely.
So I like from a constructed standpoint, I'm definitely a more competitive casual player. But you throw me into a sealed event in a sealed environment, like I can hold my own. I do.
Right.
I just love sealed. I love everything about sealed. I love that it puts everyone on theoretical equal footing. Obviously, there's RNG and luck that goes into what you get out of your pack, but it's the same thing as when you're building a deck and constructed. Like you take your pool of available cards and you do your best with what you have to make a consistent low variety, low variable deck. And I feel like that is one of the skills that I have. And maybe that's why I'm drawn to Ira so much, because one of the that's how I feel like when you've mastered a game, when you've beaten the game, is when you've solved a deck as far as deck building and creating a consistent game plan.
Yeah, for sure. I like limited Magic a lot, you know, for some sets. Most sets I can only draft it like 2 or 3 times before I'm like, this garbage, but you know,
they're not all created equal.
Yeah, they're not, for sure. Have you done any limited in Flesh and Blood?
I have.
I have. Nice.
And it's a great experience.
Nice.
I really like. I did Welcome to Wraith. No, I wasn't around for Arcane Rising. So I never got to play any sealed or limited for that format. Unfortunately, would love to. Feel like that would be a great time.
Yeah.
And then I played some Monarch as well. But, actually, the one I've enjoyed the most is just WTR.
Right.
Because it's so bare bones. There's something about that I find really fascinating. It's like making the most out of these really, for all intents and purposes, bad cards. Like how can I make this a good card in this format? Like, what am I going to do with this red that pitches for 1 and it costs 2 to swing in for 5? you know, like how can I make that good?
Right.
And just trying to build a deck around your limited pool. There's something about that has always attracted me.
For sure. You know, there's like these standalone card games, like I guess they're like board games, right? They come with all the cards. They're called like deck builders or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Games.
Yeah, but they're huge. They're popular, and I think, you know, games like Magic, Flesh and Blood, that like takes it to another level, right? Because you're playing with like an immersive world IP, and you can win more prizes, and it's more random, and you get to keep your cards that are nice. But have you heard the interview with James White where he says Tales of Aria is the best limited format ever created in a TCG, or something to that effect, right?
Ever created?
Yeah, he said this is the one where you buy a box and you keep it on your shelf for 10 years for like Christmas with your buddies, you know what I mean? And you just always keep one around because it's like, I'm excited on that.
That is a bold claim.
It is.
And you best believe I'm going to draft it, and I'll put that to the test myself.
Yeah, for sure. He was talking to Mashi Scanlon on their... He's like a Channel Fireball worker, but they also have another company. Channel Fireball just merged with Binder POS or something.
Because they changed their single market. Wasn't that what it was?
Something like that.
They're outsourcing their single sales, if I remember correctly.
Maybe. I think
was that them or was Star City? It was one of the two.
I'm not sure, but I know the Binder POS, it was interesting. So I was looking into it. Yeah. I was like, what is this? But it's a point of sale system for local game stores. And I think you might be right. Maybe they are outsourcing it. Like maybe they upload the singles and then you can just like auto ship or something from the Channel Fireball website or something.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so it was on an interview on their channel with Mashi, but it's a great interview. I recommend that to anybody listening. You know, any interview with James White is super, super interesting. You know, me and Kurt were talking about the first thing he did when he got into the game was, I'm going to check out the creator, right?
Yeah.
And I super back that guy. The goal, one of the goals of this channel is I'm going to build up to interviewing James White, right?
Oh, that would be amazing, right?
For sure. That's the short, longish term goal there. But
he's like purebred for trading card games.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely.
Yeah, if I was running a company selling trading cards, I think he's probably one of the guys I'd want at the top, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can just tell this guy wakes up eats, sleeps, and breathes his game, you know? So
Yeah.
that's cool. And then it's
And-
also awesome that he's hiring the top players.
Yeah, right.
That speaks a lot, right?
I love that because it's the opposite of what Wizards has been doing
Right.
with their community and their pro tour and their pro league, right? Where it's just like you're dropping them
Yeah.
with seemingly no notice, and then
Yeah.
you have James White over here who's really just picking up where Wizards has been leaving off lately. I
Sure.
think with losing all their support for competitive play, dropping the pro tour, it just creates a vacuum, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the largest game, at least on this side of the world, as far as trading cards is concerned. It's got the biggest competitive market. That just leaves a huge vacuum waiting to be filled.
Yeah.
And I love that LSS and James White saw that opportunity, and they said, "So you're not going to do Magic Fest? No Grand Prix? All right, guess where the calling's going to be this year?
Yeah, exactly.
USA."
I think how I even got into the game was I talked to Rich about this a little bit last night, but I saw a Magic Pro tweet out Legendary Studios Pro Tour announcement and competitive level play announcement, and I immediately was all in, right? Because I was chasing the Pro Tour for a decade, I mean, I considered myself a pretty competitive Magic player, and you nailed it. It left a vacuum, and I think LSS and James White have come in and really utilized that to their major advantage, because you and I see it. There's a lot of new players coming in. People I've played against many people where, oh, this is my first armory, second armory. The Facebook numbers are growing. The views on the YouTube videos are growing. So, and I think something that's genius that a lot of people haven't really talked about yet, or I haven't heard yet, is it's genius for LSS to use Channel Fireball to run the events, right?
Yeah,
because a lot of the Magic people that were competing already on their newsletter, their email newsletter, so it was interesting because I use one email for all my Flesh and Blood stuff, and I got a Flesh and Blood announcement email in my just other email, and I was like, wow, okay, so they're pushing this to people not just on Flesh and Blood side. So smart, man.
I can't help but laugh when I do get on Facebook or Discord or whatever, and someone's like, "The sky is falling," it's a race to zero, the game's dying, and it's funny because it's all the investors,
Right.
and there was a lot of inflation just given given the state of the world, over the last year and a half. Like this was to be expected if you're even paying a little bit of attention. So there's definitely a lot of people crying about that, but these aren't the competitive players.
No.
They're not me or you. They're not the people that are grinding the armories where I go, and every single week there's more people.
Right.
When I started playing just 2 months ago, most armories would have like maybe, if you were lucky, 16. That was like a really good number. Then you're playing them like Red Riot, and they're getting like 30s, 40s. I guarantee Enter the Battlefield will have 30 or 40 people tonight. Gauntlet gets 50 plus people regularly on a Monday. The skirmishes, oh my god, dude!
There's over 100,
pushing over 200 people in some of them that I played in.
It's crazy
online. Yes,
it's really crazy. I mean, even if you look at Magic Online, they aren't getting that high of numbers on their weekly like Modern Challenge, or the standard one doesn't even fire. Right, just so there's just not that many. A lot of people will say, oh well, it's online, people from around the world, of course you can get 30, 40 people or whatever. It's like, yeah, but Magic Online, they can't even get the 30 people. But yeah, it's crazy. The events are growing for sure. I mean, the Enter the Battlefield one tonight, they have enough players they could run a CC and a Blitz at the same time. That's awesome, right? So,
and they have for the last several weeks.
For sure.
And they have enough. They've got like 20 plus people each want to play each format. You know what I mean? And that puts, like, you might feel the same way as I do about this. It puts you in a predicament where you're like, I really want to get reps in of CC to practice.
I do.
For competitive play. But at the
I'm
same
playing
time,
Blitz though.
Exactly. I'm doing the same thing, because when it comes down to it, is like, I want to play the most games for the most chance at XP, because I think we
Yes.
all know that there's a good chance. Well, they've announced, they came out and said like we will be inviting people to nationals based on where they are on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
They never gave any real clarity on how much you need or what ranking they want to see you on the leaderboard. But if your goal is to play in nationals, you're not taking any chances, right? You're
Right.
not trying to put yourself in the top 20, 50, 25,
For
whatever it's
sure.
going to be.
At least the
So
top 50, at least the first
yeah,
page, right?
yes. So I'm
So
definitely gonna continue. I'm gonna continue grinding Blitz,
yeah,
because it's a numbers game
for
at
sure.
this
And I
point.
mean, you're very close to the top. Being 15th, like I think a push into the top 10 would be, you know, a goal, because
Hmm.
it would be easy for them to say we're taking the top 10, right?
Sure.
And you're so close, you're right there.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, you're only 30 or 40 XP away from being number 8 or something, but
Yeah.
I think it's interesting too, because they're just going to look at the United States for the United States Nationals. Am I correct in that?
I would think. I don't think they've come out and said anything.
Yeah,
Maybe invite maybe like the top one or two from the other regions.
right.
But are they going to fly them out? Are they going to pay for their stack?
Well, also, like, I mean, it's the American Nationals, I would assume,
Mhm.
because they're having. I assume like next year they're gonna have like the European Nationals,
Sure.
the Southeast Asia Pacific,
Yes.
Hong Kong,
I
right?
would love to see that, and I hope they in the next couple of years have a big enough community playing this game that's realistic.
Right. Yeah.
I would like to see nationals in every region where people are given the opportunity to play on that level if they want to do that,
Mhm.
and they're able to. I want that opportunity out there for all the players, because through playing Discord, like the Americans are not the only good players playing this
No.
game.
Hell no.
Not even close. You know what I
No.
mean? Like if you take one glance at the global leaderboard, it becomes very obvious
Yeah.
who the people really grinding this game are.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we got some grinders here, but we pale in comparison to
We really do.
some of especially some of our Eastern friends. They
For
are
sure, man.
killing. They
Yeah.
are
Hong
killing
Kong.
it.
I mean, the Hong Kong guys. There's a lot of them at the top, like
Hmm.
top 15, top 20, but
Hmm.
they're great guys too,
Yes,
and
excellent players. They're machines.
insane players
Truly,
for
like
sure. Yeah.
you don't catch them in a mistake
Hell
very
no.
often.
Hell no. What's interesting though is I was talking to some of the Hong Kong players, William Lee
Yes.
and Kelvin Law,
Hmm.
and they told me, yeah, we have like 30 or 40 LGS stores that coordinate events. You can go any day of the week, multiple times per day, and play a 40 to 50 person in-person event.
That's incredible.
That is crazy, right? Like
Yeah.
the game is hit. The game is taken off. I heard a figure where in New Zealand, Flesh and Blood players at the local game stores outnumber Magic 4-1.
Incredible.
It's incredible, right? And
That's incredible.
I think all it takes is a matter of time, a little perfect storm like we have coming up with Vegas, and I think it could create a frenzy, right? Let's just say Tales of Aria knocks it out of the park. The cards are insane. The heroes are so cool. And it creates a rush to the game. Like, I could see that happening very easily, especially with a high profile event. Like, I hope they live stream it on Twitch, YouTube, on the channel Fireball channel or something, something
If
like
they can
that.
keep the tempo going,
Right.
because that definitely happened with Monarch. It brought
Yeah.
me into the game, and people like you as well, like
Yeah.
people who were getting sick of the MTG scene, because that's where I was finding myself. It's
Yes.
just like, I'm sad to say, but I'm just like, I'm kind of over this game right now.
Yeah.
Because I had started playing MTG again after playing Hearthstone for a very
Right.
long time, and I was really competitive into Hearthstone. But it
Nice.
was another thing. Like the meta got too stale for me. I didn't like the direction that Blizzard was taking Hearthstone, so I'm like, I'm gonna go back to Magic. Got really into Magic again, and then I'm like, they pulled a Blizzard on me. I'm like, now
Right.
you're doing the same thing Blizzard was
I
doing.
know.
Can I put my faith in no one? So here I am. I'm giving it to LSS this time. So
Yeah.
LSS, don't let me down. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm rooting for you. I've taken even to my local community. I've made a Facebook page. I'm going to all my LGSs. I'm like, oh, your MTG numbers are low. Check out this game, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that want to play it. Like,
There
this is
is.
your chance. Get your foot in the door, because there are people and they want to play it. and this is your opportunity to be the first one in the area. Like,
For
let's
sure.
make this happen. So I now have gotten 2 LGSs that have registered with LSS, so they're going to be hosting events here soon.
Nice.
Which is awesome because we've had nothing. And
Yeah.
my biggest, you might have this issue too. I don't know how many local LGSs you can go play at.
Depends how far I want to drive, but yeah.
Exactly my point. Right now, I need to drive almost 2 or 3 hours to go play, and that's not realistic for me to do to play an Armory.
Damn, you in the woods, huh?
I'm not even, man. Like I have 7 LGSs in my in the city that I live outside of.
Oh, okay. But to play Flesh and Blood, you mean?
Yes, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
got you. Okay.
And Philadelphia is a 1-hour drive from me. Would
Okay.
you believe that there's not an LGS in Philly that's hosting Armory events? Not a one.
Really?
It's unbelievable. I have to drive to New Jersey.
Holy shit.
I
have one like 20 minutes away that's doing it every Saturday.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, it's decent around here. I'm working with my like down the street LGS to run an online event, and I've run into some hiccups with that with my own personal scheduling and family, and I want to play too. Like, I was like, all right, let me get number 1 in the US global, and then I'll. But also their store flooded or something recently, so that kind of held it up. Yeah. But you know, I say LGS, but they're actually huge. Like they have a secondary warehouse with like $100,000 card sorting machine, and they're like number 5 on the TCG player total. Like, I live in a small town.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. You watched the Rich interview. I live in like a small town of like 30, 40,000 people. So
yeah,
it's kind of funny. Like, and then Star City Games is 3 hours away from me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that place is crazy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I
hope. Sorry to cut you off. Before I forget this. Do you remember every weekend I would watch the Star City Games events, man? You know, I think I would go to them, I would watch them on live stream. I hope Star City Games does a Flesh and Blood one.
That'd be sick.
That'd be sick, right? I mean, that would do so much for the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Flesh and Blood is more exciting to watch than Magic.
Yeah, it's dynamic in a way that Magic isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Because how many games did you watch of Magic, and you're like, oh, he mulliganed twice. This game's already over.
It's
right
over.
Before it even begun, it's already over.
Or oh, he missed his 3rd land drop. It's done.
Then that's not engaging at all, right? You know, and again, there's some variance in this game too. You might end up in my situation where you draw 14 reds in a row, like I did the other night. You know, it's gonna happen. You know, there's statistical anomalies every once in a while. It's gonna come up, but not as often as it happened in Magic. Like, for sure, that's one of the things that this game benefits from greatly. Is it fixes that problem that Magic has inherently in its mechanics, and it's the biggest complaint that people have about Magic.
Yep.
At least, well, not the biggest, but at least one of them, right?
I think it might be.
It's not fun.
It's not fun.
You know,
yeah.
The resource system's not fun. It's just not fun. And this game, I don't want to say it fixes it, but it does it a lot better than Magic does.
For sure. I mean, there is issues like you said with the red hands, all blue hands and stuff, but for the most part, that's rare, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I can count in the last week or something, it was like maybe 2 or 3 hands, right? Yeah. And I still won the game. So,
but that's the thing too, is you can overcome that.
You can overcome it.
If you're playing well, if you're playing optimally, you can get a bad hand like that. You can think, okay, so I need to relinquish tempo because I'm not going to be able to put anything out here this turn. So what's my best play? Maybe try to throw in an attack, arsenal something, and then use everything else to block until I can regain the tempo. Sure. It's not like Magic where, like we said, if you miss your land drop 2 turns in a row, there's no coming back from that. It's impossible.
I mean, it's not impossible. It's extremely tough. I mean, they have to start drawing lands too, so the other person has to miss too, in some shape or form. But I do like Magic still, right? I would pick up a commander deck and play a game with somebody.
Love Commander.
Yeah, it's still cool. I think Magic, it's not going anywhere, right? We don't have to beat Magic. We just have to show the competitive players of Magic what's going on our side, right? I think, I don't think we're that far away, right? So, Tales of Aria has got me super excited, man. I really think that I hope that they do talented heroes again,
Mhm.
like Monarch. And I'm kind of hoping that they do Light and Shadow
Yeah.
again. And I don't know why. I like new and all this stuff. Yeah, we saw Light and Shadow, but I think it would expand the card pool to a point where like there's a whole new layer of depth
Mm.
to some of this stuff, right? Like carrying Husk on a Ranger or something, right? Or you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. I agree with you. I hope that they do continue Light and Shadow, because one of the things I like about Magic that they used to that they don't do much anymore is when they would focus on blocks and they would have sets that would have mechanics or specific things
Yeah.
across like 3 sets. Um, and they don't really do that anymore. They do
No, they
like
don't.
Strixhaven's like a one-off, or Throne of Eldraine's a one-off, and
Right.
they all have unique mechanics. So you see a cool mechanic, and then it never comes up again.
Right.
And if you're trying to build an archetype around that, you need additional support. So if you're going to have Light and Shadow cards like we got in Monarch, if they never get any additional support,
Right.
they're not going to get any better. They're relying on the generics that come out of the game, which sometimes they're great, but it's probably
Sure.
not going to be enough to carry those decks.
Right.
So like let's say Tales of Aria comes out and there's some crazy nuts ninja stuff and some guardian stuff, but there's no new light or shadow support.
Yeah.
Chain might be the best thing in the meta right now, but he's going to get left in the dust because
Right.
he's as good as he's ever going to be right now. He's never going to have the chance to get better while other classes are growing.
Yeah. I'm hoping for Shadow Ninja, right?
Yeah.
Light Ranger. That's just an educated guess based on
Yeah.
the magazine cover. And then I really would like to see a new Guardian, maybe a Light Guardian, and then maybe like a Shadow Wizard or something. Would be cool. Shadow Wizard and Ninja sounds dope to me.
I agree with you for the most part, but I would like to flip one of your suggestions
Okay.
because I want to see a Shadow Guardian.
Oh yeah, that'd be sick. I just want to see another Guardian.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's overdue, right?
Yeah.
It's like the one class that doesn't have an alternate hero at this point. But I
Oh,
want to
that's
see a
true.
light. I want to see a light wizard who's
Oh,
focused
yeah.
on healing
Oh,
as like their
shit.
primary mechanic. Because like healing, there's not a lot of healing in this game right now, right?
No,
You got
you
like
got Sigil and
some Sigils of
Tomify and
Solace, some tomes in the generic slot.
Yeah.
Guardian does some healing through some of their cards. I want to see like they're just instants focused on healing, but they can't block for anything. So I want to see mechanics where it's like if your life is below this amount, you get to do something special. So you're
Oh, that'd be
constantly
tight.
balancing like taking damage and then healing that damage
Yeah.
back up instead of blocking. So
Yeah.
then it's like you gotta choose like it sucks when you're playing a Bravo, right? Because then you're like, oh look at those on hit triggers I can't do anything about. Like
Yeah.
so you have to constantly be it would be like a deck building challenge, and I'm
Yeah.
really into that.
I like that a lot. I hadn't pinpointed that one in my mind yet, even though I think about this stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. You know, one of my favorite Magic cards is Lightning Helix.
I
Right?
love that card.
Dealing
Yeah, it's
three-
so basic,
yeah.
but it's so good.
It's so basic but so good. And I think something like that, and Life for a Life is like my second favorite card in this game. It goes Scar for a Scar, Life for a Life, Command and Conquer, or Easter Egg, right? That's just power, the power.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could be a really interesting design in Flesh and Blood. Healing,
Yes.
you know?
I think it's something to be explored. I don't know if the game's ready for it or if it needs it yet.
Right.
But I like the idea of that. I think it's
I
cool.
do,
Or
too.
maybe introduce like a cleric or a priest in the
Yeah.
future if that uses that mechanic.
Yeah, that would be
I think
awesome.
that would be great.
That would be awesome. That kind of goes. You said you played Hearthstone. I played that for a long time too.
Oh,
I mean, I played it from like the day it came out up until
as well.
Secrets Paladin.
Oh,
If you're
okay, so
familiar.
yeah, I played well past Secret Paladin.
Oh, okay, yeah. After that, I was done.
That was a deck.
It
for
was.
sure.
I liked playing it, but not against it. I got to what are they? It's Legend or something, right? What is it?
Mhm. Yeah,
Legendary.
the legend rank. I would
Yeah.
grind a legend almost every season that they put it out.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, Secret Paladin is funny. I still remember the animation of that card and the voice line that it would say when they come into the battlefield. Who am I? I still remember.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude. There's Hearthstone when it first came out was awesome. When it was just like the very basic cards, like the Yeti was like the best creature because it was just
Go win, Yeti.
yeah, for like 4 mana for a 4/5, like is like a good rated creature. And I think that Flesh and Blood has some of that magic of like a fresh game. You can just kind of take the best on rate cards, put them in a deck, and have a good time, right? Like CNC's E Strike obviously is like the best rated card. Like it costs 0. You know what I mean? Obviously it costs a card, but
Yeah.
you could do, you know, it's a 5 for 0, and then you get these options for the card. I guess is a better way, but yeah, there's some magic there with that. And then you have all these other nuanced cards as well, like Exude Confidence, Nourishing Emptiness. I like the card Nourishing Emptiness. I think that it hasn't found its home yet outside of Kano.
Or Dorinthia,
Blitz.
right? Yeah.
Oh, or Dorinthia. Yeah, that's
those
right.
are like the two
Yeah,
givens.
for sure. For
How
sure.
do you feel about there's a couple weirdos out there that like to run that in Ira. How do you feel about that?
I've had it beat my
Oh,
ass before.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
On
what,
turn
you're one of the
one.
weirdos that runs it?
No, hell no. I don't.
I
I
know
think
you
it's
better than that.
terrible, but I've had it played against me on turn 1. And it feels real bad, man.
Right.
Real
Would you-
bad, man.
Would you consider running a card just to high roll it to try to get it on turn 1? Is that something you would do?
No, I still won. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like drawing an extra card on Ira isn't that powerful because all your cards kind of do the same shit. It's either a red attack or it's a defense reaction, right?
Mhm.
Or a blue. Right?
Right.
You could
I
have
mean,
just
you
drawn
can't-
your extra blue.
You know, thank God for all of our opponents that you can't put 4 Flick Flacks in Arsenal.
Right. Yeah.
only one fills that slot for now.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, I think the game has a lot of potential. I think I don't even know if potential is the right word. I think it's the best TCG I've ever played, and I've played almost all of them.
At this point, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
It's compelling in a way that other games aren't.
Yep.
It really has drawn me in the same way that Hearthstone did at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, before they started to lean in too much to the RNG, which has started to force me away from the game.
For sure.
Because like we were saying at the beginning, I'm drawn to consistency.
Yeah.
I want to make the least variable deck, and unfortunately, Hearthstone is a game for consumers who like to watch the game,
Yes.
not play the game.
Yeah.
It's very popular streaming because it's more fun to watch than it is to play. Because you want to see the RNG, you want to see the high rolls and the low rolls. It makes for an
And the
engaging
random
viewing
cards.
experience.
Yeah.
But playing it is miserable.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy the most about this game. There's just not a lot of that. It's you and if you want it, there's an option for you. You know, you can play KO if you're really into that, and that's what you
Or
want to do.
scab skins, right?
Yeah, if you want to play Casino Brute, I mean, go for it.
Yeah.
But that's not for me. But I'm glad that option exists for someone who does want to play that way.
Sure. And I'm glad that it's relatively balanced as well.
Mhm.
You know,
For sure.
So, I mean, I've beaten somebody rolling a 6 on scab skins. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
6 is almost overrated. What are you gonna do with all those action points?
right. Yeah. It's just
You're not gonna have enough cards.
I've never seen them use all 3. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe no. Mandible Claw, I guess, but it
No,
has
the
go
claws
again
are
anyways,
the
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
but I think there's also a huge design space in Flesh and Blood to get it to an even higher level. You know, one of the things that originally I was like, man, this is sick, right? It's the armor and the weapons.
Yeah.
I'm a big RPG fan. You know, a lot of people will joke on me because I'm always on Fantasy 14 on Discord, right? And so my friends on there can see that, but I'm a big RPG guy and a Diablo guy, and the armor and the weapons, man, that's so awesome. I think there's huge design space there, right? I mean, I sit and brainstorm all the time, like, man, you could have weapons, and then you can even have like sockets in the weapons, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna socket a red gem and this gives it +1 attack, or I'm gonna socket a blue gem and every time this attacks you gain a resource, or you know what I mean? It's infinite on that.
Yeah.
Harder to balance.
Blacksmith class. That's what's coming in the future, right? You
Dude, that'd
play
be
cards
sick.
and it upgrades your armor or something like that.
Shit, that'd be tight.
Put an ore under your armor or
Yeah.
something like yeah.
Or even just, sword and shield. We need that at bare
Yeah,
minimum. Sword and
without
shield.
that, no shields, man.
We
No
need a
shields.
shield, bro. We
I
got
haven't thought about
prismatic
that.
shield, but it's an illusion.
Yeah.
It's not a real
It's not
shield.
a real shield.
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
No, I agree with you. There's so much design space left to be
Yeah.
explored.
It excites the hell out of me, man, because I'm really glad that this is a game where they have created their own IP.
Yeah.
And they're not bound by a lot. You know what I've noticed? A lot of people have come over to this game from the Star Wars CCG.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I don't know that.
A
I'm not
lot
familiar
of
with that game.
Yeah, me neither. A lot of the people that I see making videos on YouTube, they have a lot of the Star Wars. I think it's Star Wars Destiny, or Star Wars
Yes,
CCG.
yeah, that sounds right.
Tower 9 has a bunch of videos on it and stuff, and but those games, I think they get very limited by their IP that they're licensing, right? So
right. They're limited to the source material.
Right, and so this game
you're relying on whoever's making the source material to give you something you can work with.
For sure, or allow you to do what you want.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
You can't just, and so I think it's pretty cool. I think the story is pretty cool too if you read into the lore on the website and stuff, right? Like the demonastery is kind of wild. Like at first I'm not into demons and shit like that or spooky shit, and they got a little bit of that, but there's a pretty decent backstory behind it, right? So I recommend people check that out. But there's a lot of ways they can expand it, right? Supposedly this is just the first continent. There's multiple continents as well, or something like that. I don't fucking know.
Well, Aria is one of the first other regions that we're going to be exploring through the game, right?
Right. Yes, but I think Aria is still on the one continent. Yeah. No, I watched an interview. I guess this is Wraith is one continent on.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe
you're probably right.
I'm probably wrong, actually. I don't know. But it's exciting. The original IP is exciting to see where they take it and where they go with it and stuff like that too. But it's also risky, right? Because if you hire the wrong writer, it can get cheesy quick, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Well, and then you start to run into consistency issues. Definitely. And if there's one thing that's the theme of this video is nerds like consistency.
Yeah, nerds love consistency, man.
Nerds enjoy consistency.
I swear, it's funny. Me and my brother always talk about why would anyone make a new game right now when you could literally just release the old games and make $1 billion? Right? The Diablo 2 remaster. That's a great example. They're just, they're going to make millions and millions of dollars and have a huge player base that they didn't have to do shit.
It's a timing thing. Because you have to analyze your target demographic, and you have to know who you're selling to and what they're looking for. So for me, and James White has made this apparent, LSS has made this apparent, that their target demographic is wide and it skews older than most games we're familiar with. It's not Pokemon where their target demographic is 8 to 12 or whatever. I think it's something along those lines. 8 to 12 years old is their target demographic. But for me, a little bit older. I'm 28.
Right.
So I, as much as I do love Pokemon,
me too.
I don't find Pokemon nearly as engaging as I do Flesh and Blood, where you got Reinar sitting on a pile of corpses holding limbs in his arms.
Right.
I'm that. That's visceral and that's interesting.
For sure.
I know what I'm getting with Pokemon.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm getting with this yet, and they continue to push the limits
for sure
and to surprise you with the art, but also the card design and the mechanics.
Yeah.
And if they can keep that going, they will continue to grow exponentially.
I agree.
That's asking a lot, and inevitably they will stumble at some point.
It's
every game does it. They'll put out something that's going to break the format, and everyone's going to cry about it.
Arguably, it's Monarch, right?
Sure.
I see a lot of people crying, and unfortunately, I think that it's misguided new players who don't have a foundational understanding of how to beat Chain yet. You're not racing them, so just stop trying. That's
yes.
And so that's where they get hung up because I gotta race them, man. That's not happening.
Maybe if you're Dorinthia,
Maybe.
or aggro dash.
I found that it's really hard as Dorinthia because
Yeah,
they get the husk. You're
true.
just
Yeah, the
dead. You're
husk.
just dead. You
Yeah, if
can't.
they're running the husk, forget it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
for
depends on
sure.
their equipment choices. Absolutely.
I think,
Yeah, yeah.
to wrap it up here, Riley, man, I appreciate it. Let's talk. If you could give advice to new players, man, what would be like the top three things or top thing?
I I first off, I love playing new players in this game. Um,
It's vicious, man. It's XP.
it is. But I do take pity on them for the most part. Because I was in their position and I made all the same mistakes that they made, and I tried to do all the plays that they did, and I misread all the same cards that they're misreading. And it makes me feel better because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not the only idiot who thought that.
Right.
It's so easy to feel discouraged in the first couple armories that you play in because
Yeah,
you're gonna get stomped. There's
for
no
sure.
two ways about it. Because the people that are, if you're grinding and playing at this level, the people who are already playing have played your deck.
Yep.
They've played better versions of your deck, and at this point, they've played better players playing better versions of your deck.
Yeah.
So you just don't really stand a chance.
No.
Like my first 2 weeks of playing, I don't know if I won a single game that wasn't a bye. Like I was just getting destroyed.
My
But
first event, I won a game with Kano, like bad Kano, like no Blazing Aether Kano,
sure.
and I was like, I love this game.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm glad that you got that little glimmer of hope because I didn't
yeah,
get that. Nobody gave me that opportunity.
yeah. But
I was rolling up with my iron rot helms, like I said earlier, thinking I was gonna make it big, and I wasn't. I just got destroyed. But I think one piece of advice is if you're going to get into this game, be humble about it because the people that have been playing are very good. They have optimized decks and they have a lot of experience. So don't get discouraged when you lose because it's going to happen, but instead use that as an opportunity to learn from the better players because you can take away so much from those losses. I would not be able to play to the level that I'm playing at now without having lost to the better players in those matchups and learning what are the mistakes I'm making and what can I do to correct those mistakes? How can I play this differently in the future? How can I learn about this interaction? What am I learning about the opponent's game plan? Like I'm learning like when you play against a Bravo or you play against a Reinhardt and you learn about the different nuances of those heroes and their cards, what they do, what their best combos are, what their game plan is, you then get to respond to that with the information that you've learned. It's like now I know. Now I know that you've pitched these cards and you're statistically not likely to happen at him anymore. So what's the worst possible thing you could do to me right now?
Yeah,
You learn that across reps. And so
definitely.
you're like, okay, now I know the worst possible thing you can do is hit me for 6. I'm not going to
Yep,
forfeit any cards to you when I already have a
yep.
life advantage. I'm going to let you hit me for 6, and I'm going to
Especially,
come back
yeah,
and hit you for 12.
exactly. Yeah, and I think that, I mean, you nailed it, right? Calculating how much damage you can do if you had all four cards,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of just weighing out how much damage you can take, etc. It
Mm-hmm.
based on the context of the match.
Yeah, that's
Um,
another piece of advice I would give. And everyone says this in every single card game, but it's never been more important than in this game. Your life is a resource.
yeah,
Only protect it when you absolutely need to.
yeah,
And you learn more about that as well through the matchups and getting more
for
reps
sure.
in. But a lot of new players are they're petrified of taking damage.
Yes.
They're like, I don't want to take any damage, and they're just throwing cards down, blocking, 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 blocking,
Yeah,
and then they're like,
I see it all the
why can't
time.
why can't I gain tempo back? That's like, well,
Yeah,
you're never gonna gain tempo back with one card in your hand.
ever.
Like
Yeah, I mean,
you need to be you need to get the reps in. You need to learn the matchups, and you need to know when you can take damage and what you can take damage from,
for
and
sure.
when you have the appropriate hand to respond to try to get back tempo.
Definitely. I think, to your point, you're never, a lot of people and new players need to understand, like, you will never take back tempo with less than a four card hand, right?
Probably not. Sometimes not
Probably
even with
not.
a 4 card hand. You might need a
Right.
card in arsenal too,
Yeah, you
depending
might
on who
need it.
you're
It
playing.
depends on how far behind you are, but yeah, you're
Right,
absolutely right.
exactly.
I mean, I think E-Strike can catch you up a little bit,
Hmm.
right? E-Strike with, uh, you know, I think E-Strike's a very powerful card that can catch you up.
It's easily one of the best cards
Yeah,
in the game.
for sure. Maybe a CNC,
Yeah.
but it takes more than just those cards as well. You need to follow up with something, or come up before that with something that would go again. But
This game requires a lot of planning.
it does.
And it's planning at all at levels of the game, from all the way from deck building to learning your matchups, knowing what your opponent wants to do and knowing what you want to do, and then trying to react accordingly. I think that's why Ira is one of the better format decks, and it's probably one of the best decks you could pick up if you're looking for a meta deck as a new player.
For sure.
Sorry to everyone who's collectively groaning about that as I try to add more Iras to the community. But it's a reactive and adaptable play style. You can switch gears from defensive to aggressive very, very quickly, depending on the state of the game. And I think that it also teaches new players how to do that, and it gives them the resources that gives them the ability to do that. Yeah. And not all decks are created equal in that way.
Definitely. I think that you nailed exactly what makes Ira so strong, and it doesn't feel bad to block as Ira. It feels good to block as Ira.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what really, at a core level in the game, makes her so good. Right? Because even as someone like Bravo, it feels kind of bad to block. Right? Yeah. Even though they kind of do like to block just as much as Ira, it feels as bad. It feels worse because you need all the cards to do something powerful, whereas Ira doesn't. They just need 2.
That's a deck building thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's a class thing, even more so than a deck building thing, where all their most powerful cards have absurdly high resource costs to play them. Like you're gonna pay what? You're gonna pay 4 to do 6 damage? Right. Like, are you kidding me? Ira pays 1.
Yeah, pay 1. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've actually seen the aggro Katsu coming up in Blitz.
I love that.
Yeah, and it was interesting because they could put out some fucking damage, dude.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like over 20 damage. I mean, that's the one deck I think can compete in race chain to a degree. To a degree.
Yeah, you're probably right. Those combo chains, and chain and chain, right? But those combo chains probably playing into chain who doesn't want to block you unless they're blocking with the husk.
It's strong.
They're gonna give you the hit triggers, and all of a sudden you're fetching that combo card, and things are about to get wild.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, drawing a card off the mask and just keeping it going with the combo chain, and boom, boom, boom. It can get crazy with the hurricane technique too. When it hits, put it back in your hand, and all this shit. You can pitch
I've seen some Katsu combos that it's almost effortlessly are putting out over 30 damage in a turn.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you're wanting to race, everybody out there, just race chain and CC, pick up aggro Katsu. But Rylie, to end this off, man, what do you think is the deck in CC Classic Constructed? If you had to play the calling tomorrow, what are you picking up?
This might be a hot take.
I love it.
I think it's Prism.
Shit, I was gonna say the same fucking thing.
Were you?
Yeah, me and a buddy were talking, and he has a strong argument for why it's so good, but it's spicy tech. So
I wonder if their argument is similar to mine.
Probably.
Where I just talked about how good Ira is and why Ira is so good, and I think Prism and CC for the exact same reason.
Yeah.
Very adaptable, great sideboard. Probably the best sideboard of all the constructed decks right now. It's like one of the few decks available, one of the few heroes available right now.
One sec, man. Someone's at my door. One sec.
Oh, you're good.
Bad on that.
Oh no, you're good. Were they delivering pizza?
It was my wife had to be let in. I locked her out. But I like Prism a lot, and I think you're right. So
I think she's the most adaptable.
Yeah.
Right now, she has no bad matchups. Even her bad matchups are good with the right sideboarding.
Yeah.
I'm playing in at least 3 Road to Nationals. I'm not 100% committed yet if that's the deck, but I have it built. I've run games on it. I really like it.
Nice.
I have 4 CC decks.
Do you have Tabletop Simulator?
Oh yeah.
Dude, we should jam some games.
I would love that.
I would love to jam against Prism for sure.
Yeah. We should run. We need the reps, man, because all we're doing is playing Blitz for the XP.
Dude, I only got 9 days before my first road to Nats.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
that's really soon. I'm gonna be in vacation. I'm gonna be vacationing in Mexico, so all mine start after that.
Nice. All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Rylie. I'm sure we'll hear again from you soon, and good luck in the Enter the Battlefield event.
Yeah. Thanks
And
for having me
I'm
on.
sure
I
I'll see
appreciate
you
it.
in there. Yeah, no problem, man.
All right, take care, man.
Yes, sir. Later, Rylie.
Good luck.
Thanks.